As you might have noticed, I already made 2 rainbow-themed dolls this year. And since I'm still missing 2 ponies from the main 6 of my My Little Pony dolls, I thought, third time's a charm, so today I'm finally going to be making my version of Rainbow Dash. As always, I will be making her as a 16-inch ball-jointed doll from scratch and hopefully make her about 20% cooler. Just like this black version of my sparkle ribbon hoodie. You have one more day to pre-order it in black or in pink, so get it now while you can. Link is in the description box below. To make Rainbow Dash, I once again commissioned my amazingly talented friend Blue Pixie to sculpt a unique face expression and some beautiful wings for her. So I guess we can already get going. Mochi! Aww, hi! Hi! Alright, but before we can start printing, we of course need a custom skin tone for Rainbow Dash. And I have some blue here and some white and also some pigments. And I want to see if I can mix a skin tone that is very close to Rainbow Dash's original skin color. So how about we do that real quick and then start the printing progress. Assembled doll looks already so fun with her cheeky expression, and I also love the wings. I really can't wait to paint the face, but first things first, let's make her wig. You can see I already wrapped her head in cling film and stocking fabric and first make a wig cap by applying 3 layers of PVA glue onto the fabric, let it all dry and end up with something like this afterwards. I then just paint the wig cap in the colors where I want to glue all the different hair colors, and then it's time for wefts. For Rainbow Dash's wig, I'm actually once in a while happy that I am a hoarder and never throw anything out, because I got to use the hair from the large Amaya Rain doll that I customized in 2022, if you remember the moth girl I made there. So I made a bunch of wefts from the hair and then start in the back and first glue the lowest layers and always cut and style every weft right after gluing it. I wanted a spiked hair look, so I decided to thin out the wefts so I could then style them into those spiky ends that I also styled in place with heat to have this cute outwards wave. I had so much fun using all the different colors, and the colored mapping on the wig cap really helped a lot as a guide. A steamer is also a great helper when styling the hair, and I just continued making the wig and worked my way up all the way to the top of the head, where I then used small folded wefts to clean up the top part of the wig and also styled these in place. In the very end, I decided to also add an ahoge because I just felt it fits Rainbow Dash so well for some reason. I absolutely love the finished wig, and I really enjoy making short haircuts too. Since Rainbow Dash is sporty, I felt the shorter hair fits her perfectly, and I'm just in love with all the colors. But now, let's paint her face, shall we? Now, turning a sleek aerodynamic pony like Rainbow Dash into a fully articulated ball-jointed doll is a massive puzzle. You aren't just painting a face, you're managing complex silhouettes, matching crazy colors, and try to control the perfect rainbow patterns. And to keep my brain from completely melting during this process, I have been using today's sponsor, Milanote. Milanote is basically a digital mood board and project planner rolled into one and designed specifically for creative people. Instead of burying my ideas in standard text files, or messy desktop folders, I can drag and drop everything into a massive flexible canvas. For Rainbow Dash, my biggest challenge was actually color theory. I needed her iconic spectrum to look cohesive throughout different materials like hair, paint, resin, you name it. In Milanote, I simply chose one of the built-in templates to create my first board. I could match my color references right next to links for the exact materials, so I knew nothing would clash before I even got started. One of the biggest challenges for Rainbow Dash was definitely her colorful mane. Because you can't just start with the wig, you need kind of a plan. For this, I created a dedicated how-to hair board. Here specifically pulled all the aesthetic references that I needed, trying to make her hairstyle fit her character. I even pasted a tutorial link for hairstyling and added a specific checklist for tools that I might need. For example, heat, comb, iron, all within the nested board. This way I will not lose my links somewhere in old chats and messages. They're right here next to my notes. So whether you're sculpting your own doll, planning a cosplay, or just trying to sort your creative, chaotic ideas, Milanote makes this prep work part of the fun rather than a chore. And you can actually start using it completely for free to organize your own creative projects. Just click the link in the description box below or go to milanote.com/moonlightjewel0726 to sign up and see how it completely changes your work process. Huge thanks to Milanote for once again sponsoring a video, which will continue right now. As always, I'm adding sparkly shimmers to the face first, and then also some blushing with soft pastels on the cheeks, chin, forehead and lips. And then I can already sketch out her eyeliner with a brown pencil first, so I can correct mistakes easier in case I mess up. I'm also adding a top eyeliner line on her upper lid that I later want to fill in with rainbow colors. To have a good base for those colors, I fill it in with some white acrylic ink I took from a Posca marker. I then also already filled in her mouth with red and pink colors and then sketched her eyebrows with some blue pencils and pastels. I really like the asymmetry of her facial expression and the eyebrows. Before painting the rainbow colors, I then finally go in with black acrylic paint to paint her eyeliner and then use some gouache poster colors to paint the thin gradient lines of rainbow. This worked better than I thought actually, and it looks so pretty afterwards. I made one eye in red, orange and yellow and the other in green, blue and purple. I then decided to paint her some straight and pointy lower lashes because they look more sleek and aerodynamic, if that makes sense. And then just blend them in with soft pastel chalk dust as well. Her face up is almost done, but of course she can't be missing her cutie mark, so I'm painting it onto her cheek with some acrylic paint and a small nail art brush. I then give her a final sparkling before sealing her with Mr. Super Clear and then gloss her lips with a glossy varnish. Now I just need to add some 3D lashes to her eyes and let her dry, and in the meantime can give her ears some piercings. For that I simply drill holes into her ears and then glue in some accessories to the ears like these nail art piercings. A small star and rings. And then I also decided to give her some facial piercings because it just fits Rainbow Dash so much. So she gets a tongue piercing, a bridge and some eyebrow piercings. To make her eyes, I prepped some eye bases and first paint the iris in Rainbow Dash's signature shade. I then add some rhinestones as pupils, cure them, and then add more resin and some glitter to her iris. I spread it with a toothpick to have better control of where the glitter is going, and after curing add some catch lights with some small stars and rhinestones. I cure them again and then add the final doming layer, and after curing the finished eyes look like this, and I love how sparkly and reflective they are. And here's also the finished face, so I think we should put eyes and face together. Yes! Oh my god, I can't believe even without the hair she looks already so much like Rainbow Dash. I love the lashes and the expression, she's just such a cutie. And this actually makes me super excited to make her outfit now. Alright, so the doll itself is done, but of course she's still missing a really cool fitting outfit. I wanted to give her an outfit that is like sporty and a bit streetwear inspired, because I feel that is something that Rainbow Dash would definitely wear. So I will give her a Y2K inspired top with a turtleneck and a custom print, and it also happens to have sleeves, but they are detached from the top. She will then get some shorts with a bunch of accessories and a rainbow colored belt, a cropped jacket with a bunch of personalized patches and cargo pockets, And to really finish off the outfit, she will also get a sun visor cap, some really cool platform shoes, leg warmers, and I might also give her a tattoo and some bandages on her legs. So yeah, that outfit once again is going to be a lot of work, so I think we should get started with the top. I decided to make the detached sleeves first and simply will sew 2 tubes for it and made a little gap for the thumbs so they will look like fingerless gloves. And then I just fold them good sides in and sew the seam. To prevent the machine from eating my fabric, I sew them together with a bit of paper and can afterwards just remove it and end up with these 2 sleeves. I can then make the bodice of the top and first need to sew 2 darts to make it nice and form-fitting. I then cleaned up the upper seam allowance on the top of the bodice by gluing it around and then take my 2 back pieces and attach them good sides in as well. And after that was done, I can then glue around the lower seam allowance with some Uber glue. For the turtleneck, I folded a fabric strip and then pinned it onto the top like this and simply sew it on. I then made a little Y2K inspired print design, cut it from silver chrome fabric vinyl, weed it out, which was pretty tricky because it was so small, but I eventually managed, and then place it onto my top and iron it on. I should have probably ironed on the print before sewing the top, but to be completely honest, I simply forgot. It still worked to iron it on though, and it looks so cool. Last but not least, I decided to add a small belt with a snap buckle to the top as well by simply gluing it in place. And I'm also adding a small miniature piercing that is actually for nail art to the turtleneck because I just thought it looked super cool. I absolutely love the finished top and I really enjoy the print and the detached sleeves. Alright, top is done. Let's make her shorts next. Before being able to sew the shorts together, I first need to glue around the pocket mouths, so I cut in notches and then glue them around. For the inside fabric of the pockets, I decided to use some checkered fabric because it fits Rainbow Dash a lot and it also gives the pants a more interesting look. I then went ahead and secured the pocket bags and sewed the front pieces of the shorts together. I also hemmed the darts on the back pieces and then slapped them together with the front pieces like this. Now I can attach the waistband, which I already prepped with some belt loops I made from fabric strips, and then align the middle of both pants and waistband and carefully pin everything in place before sewing it. It looks like this afterwards, and now I simply need to glue the belt loops in place like this, and afterwards also secure them with a couple of stitches on my sewing machine. The only thing left now after cleaning up the lower seam allowances is to sew the back seam until the closure opening and then fold the pants in the other direction and sew the crotch seam good sides in. I should have probably done this earlier, but I was still waiting for some eyelets to arrive. So I decided to now punch in some holes into one side of the pocket mouths so I could then punch in some tiny eyelets. It was a bit tricky because the pants were already assembled, but I made it work and it looked so cool afterwards. I then add 2 more eyelets, and after doing so, I then take some jumper rings and will thread them through the eyelets like this. To make Rainbow Dash's belt, I cut glitter fabric vinyl strips from 6 different colors and will now iron them on one after the other to some soft pleather material. First the red one, then orange, afterwards yellow, then green, blue, and last but not least, purple. And then I just need to cut it out with precision, and to turn it into a belt, I prepped this snap buckle with 2 small pleather strips and glue the belt onto one side of the strip first. I then thread it into the pants before cutting it to the according length and glue the other end onto the other side of the snap buckle part. For some accessorizing, I then threaded a rainbow beaded chain onto a thread and turned it into a loop like this, and attached a jumper ring on the top, knot it tight with multiple knots, and then thread the ends of the thread through the big bead on the top and secure everything with glue in the end. And when dry, I can attach the beaded chain to one of the belt loops like this. The last thing I wanted to add to her shorts is a little applejack charm, so I printed one in resin and first make a charm out of it by drilling a hole on top of her head and then inserting a little eyelet into it and secure it with a drop of UV resin and cure it. And afterwards, I then need to paint the tiny charm. These charms are always so incredibly tiny and hard to paint, but they look just so good when you put as many details onto them as you can. In the end, I just added a jumper ring and attached it to the pants. And with that, the shorts are done. I'm absolutely in love with these shorts. I love how all the elements go so well together and create such a unique pair of pants. The next piece is gonna be just as cool because now we make Rainbow Dash's jacket. For that I want to prep the sleeves first, so I'm going to iron on some racing strips to them in opposite colors. And afterwards I can then start making the cargo pockets. For those I first glue around the edges of a fabric rectangle and afterwards take another fabric strip and glue it along the edge around 3 sides of the pocket to create this kind of 3-dimensional pocket. For the pocket flap I made this little strip with a ring on the bottom of it and glue it to the inside of the pocket flap. I then made a whole second cargo pocket and can now attach them to the sleeve. I first map out where I want to place them and then use my trusty Uhu glue to glue them on. I first glue the pockets themselves and then attach the pocket flaps. Before I make the actual jacket though, I want to make the patches. I printed the designs onto some printable fabric vinyl and will now iron them on with the iron press. I first peel off the prints from the transfer film and place them onto the fabric. And then I put a baking paper on top of the print and iron them on. Reveal time! And they look so nice, oh my god! To turn them into patches, I will iron on a double-sided sticky iron-on film that you can use for actual patches as well. And after ironing it on, I then need to cut them out as precise as I can. It took me quite a minute to cut them all out, but now they look like actual tiny patches. And then I can finally start sewing the jacket by first sewing together the back sides, finished sides in. And afterwards I attach the sleeves along the raglan seams on the back piece of the jacket and attach the front pieces of the jacket as well and also top stitch all the seams. I then gather the bottom of the sleeves and attach some cuffs to them like so. And before sewing the sleeve and side seams of the jacket, I decided to attach the patches. I first lay out where I want them to be, then peel off the backing paper, place them and iron them on with my iron. I press them from both sides and basically place all the patches on the jacket to my liking, and in the end it looks like this. Now of course I still need to add a collar to the jacket with a folded strip like this and can then finally sew the sleeve and side seams. Instead of a cuff on the bottom, I decided to simply glue the bottom seam allowance because I liked how it looked and then thought it would be cool to add an actual working separatable zipper to the jacket. I pinned it in, cleaned up the top part of the zipper and then sewed it in with a zipper foot. I had this little nail art fake safety pin and decided to add it to the zipper puller and also added this glittery rainbow flag in the end. On the black front part I also added another cargo pocket and then also glued ribbon strips to the rings on the cargo pockets and made this rainbow glittery strap, which I will be then attaching to the front of the cargo pocket. I love the finished jacket and all the personalized little patches so much, and I love that it has actual pockets and a working zipper. Okay, so the clothing pieces are pretty much done, but of course she is still missing some really cool shoes. I asked Pixie if she could sculpt some platform boots and she did an amazing job. So I can now go ahead and print them now in half flexible TPU filament and half resin to really keep all the details of the sole. So how about we do that with a little montage? Shoes look super cool and I can't wait how they will look together with the other pieces of the outfit. But now I still want to make some more accessories, so let's do that next. To make her leg warmers, I cut the pattern pieces from some elastic, almost knit-like material, cleaned up the top and bottom seams and will now fold them together like this and sew them along the marked line. After doing so, they look like this, and I then take this little snap buckle belt I prepped, and before gluing it onto the leg warmers, I want to bedazzle it with some mini studs, and for that use some gemstone glue and a white applicator pencil. And when all dry, I then glue the whole thing around the leg warmer. I also wanted to give Rainbow Dash a sun visor, which I just 3D printed in filament from a file I found on Cults, and first used my little Fantic Dremel to cut 3 holes into the brim of the cap. I also make them a little larger and then paint the sun visor black. Afterwards it looks like this, and I will now punch in some eyelets into the brim of the sun visor, and I wasn't sure if this would actually work, but it luckily did and it looks super cool. Yay! I also thread some rings through the eyelets and in the end added a few more bedazzlements, and I really love how the sun visor hat looks like. I actually have a sun visor cap myself and I really like to wear it in the summertime. I also wanted to give Rainbow Dash a tattoo of her turtle tank, so I made this little tattoo in Procreate, printed it onto some tattoo decal paper and can then cut it out like this, place it onto her leg and then use a damp tissue to transfer it to the skin. If you're wondering why I printed the design 3 times, it was just in case I mess up. I love that you can use these tattoo decals on dolls. It looks so cool! I also made a tiny band-aid from fabric, felt and double-faced tape and also attached it to her leg. In the end, I just secured the tattoo with some matte varnish and also decided to give her a belly button piercing. So the doll is done now, but of course Rainbow Dash deserves a custom doll stand, so let's make her signature cutie mark now as a doll stand. I made a 3D file for that already, so let's start up my filament printer and print this multicolored stand. With the doll stand all done and looking fantastic, I can then assemble her for the very first time, and honestly this moment is always just so magical. I can never really hide my absolute excitement. Alright guys, she's all assembled and I know that this is now the moment that you've been all waiting for, so let me present to you my Rainbow Dash. And here is my Rainbow Dash alongside all my other pony dolls that I have made so far. You might have recognized that she's a little smaller than the others. That is intentional because this way she's faster and more aerodynamic. Big shout out again as always to my patrons for the ongoing support. You guys are so amazing. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me continuing with what I love. Okie dokie, I think that's it for today. So see you soon with another cool project. Bye!